Val Pancakes, and joining me tonight on the stack, I have the manager of champions, Pollo Del Mar. You've seen Pollo as being the beautiful host of the last two of Effie's Big Gay Brunches, also as the manager of Money, Power, Respect, and as a part of NWA's Empower, which was an all-women's pay-per-view. Please welcome Pollo Del Mar.
Hi, Val Pancakes. It's about damn time you had me on the stack, madam.
Well, I really just wanted, I know that you're a busy person. You have a lot going on with all of the promotions you're involved in and all the things that you do.
Val, and why do you think you should have me on? Because I'm so busy with all these promotions.
And
stack those views. Stack.
And I really just wanted to make sure that you had time to speak with somebody, little old me over here.
Oh, little old you. Madam, we saw the bosom just yesterday. Ain't nothing little going on around here, snack cake.
I mean, for a little bit maybe. But moving right along. My mom is watching this, Pollo.
I'm assuming that your mom probably has breasts as well, Val. So it's probably not a surprise that you do.
Well, we're already going off the rails tonight, so this should be a fun one.
Hello, Mama Pancakes.
So we should have fun tonight. I have Pollo with me. I love Pollo, straight up. Wonderful person who's always super kind to me when I actually get to see you in person, which has been twice now. But just a lovely person to talk with, very supportive of me and the things that I do. And I love to be able to give some of that back to somebody that's so sweet and kind and attractive and beautiful and just inside and out.
Well, Val, the reason that the things that I told you, like privately, I'm more than happy to say publicly. And that is that for people who are in positions like myself or anybody who's on Big Gay Brunch, anybody who's a performer in the world of independent professional wrestling, what inspires us besides our own passion for what we do is the passion and love and appreciation of people like you, like the Bald Monkeys, who all three of you or all of you collectively are so supportive of the world of independent professional wrestling. So, I don't think that there's anything, you always are like, oh my God, I can't believe people are being nice, but you are so loving and so supportive of what we do that I would be a real douche if I wasn't like ultra nice to you, number one. And number two, like I appreciate people who are supportive of what I do. So thank you.
You stop. So just gonna kind of jump into our questions. I'm sure as we've already seen, this is probably gonna go 10 different ways, but it'll be fun for me, hopefully for Pollo, and hopefully for all of you as well. So what was a young Pollo Del Mar like?
Oh my gosh. I think it depends. Like that, I think I've been one of the things that I have come to understand about myself in adulthood is that my environments where I was growing up, we moved quite often. So the environments that I was in would change frequently. And so I found that I changed with those environments. So, what that formed for me was a lot of like in my head fantasy opportunities and lots of learning to rely on myself for entertainment. Like that's why I can legitimately sit at home and entertain myself, because I find myself hilarious, and I do things, I think things and do things that crack myself up. But at the same time, I think that what that also brought out of me was a sense of like being disconnected a lot. You know, I did not feel like we ever stayed in one place long enough to connect with a lot of friends, make any kind of long-term relationships. So I think that part of me as an adult, like still had that longing for those long-term relationships, and I've developed those, but still struggles to maintain those because it was just not something that was present or available to me as a kid. You know, when I tell you, Val, that I moved quite often, I went to three different schools in fifth grade. So I did not most school years I would start at one school and go to a second. And if I went a whole year at a particular school, it was very unlikely that I would return to that school the next year. So there was just a lot of moving around. And like I said, that pushed me into like worlds of fantasy where I would like imagine lots of crazy or creative things. And I think that as an adult, that's sort of like, you know, started to play out because I still have those kind of crazy creative thoughts, but now I can actualize some of them, whether that's through writing or professional wrestling or drag or whatever that might be.
So, what are your future plans and dreams, and what keeps you motivated, both in wrestling, in drag, in your regular life, if you have a regular life?
My regular life is really suffering right now because I want to do wrestling, you know, as much as I can, and I want to. Wrestling has been like a life dream of mine, so the fact that it's now become such a significant part of my actual real life, it's kind of unbelievable. So to me, it's a lot like actually living some of those childhood fantasies, right? So what are my hopes and dreams? Like you know, most of my hopes and dreams really revolve around the world of professional wrestling. Like there's things I want to do. Like I really, really want to return to National Wrestling Alliance, where I got the opportunity to make some fantastic friendships while doing Empower. I really would love to be back with the National Wrestling Alliance and be on their weekly television series on Fight TV. I would very much like to grow out, not just to be part of the Big A Brunch family at Game Changer, but there's, you know, I would love to have opportunities outside of that realm and get to actualize some of those. And so that's something that I would like to continue pursuing. And then I'm also a big fan of the United Wrestling Network, which you may know just launched Championship Wrestling Atlanta, has Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona and Memphis. And I would love to kind of delve into that group as well. So those are all like my dreams and goals for the next like probably a year. That's where I see myself in a year type of thing. I also want to return to Pro Wrestling Illustrated as a writer. I want Money Power Respect to be in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated top 50 tag teams. Like I have a lot of goals and dreams in regards to what I want to do in professional wrestling. Outside of professional wrestling, I have been working on a book for like 5 years. It's about 10 chapters from being done, and that is something I want to finish. And yeah, like I try not to think, you know, I don't have these like super long-term plans. I'm so like involved in like what's next right now type of thing. And then my idea of a long-term plan is like a year from now I want to be doing XYZ.
So, who has had the most influence on you, both in the ring and out of the ring?
I think out of the ring, of course, I have to say that the person who's been most influential in my life is really my mom. You know, my mom has been nothing but ultra supportive of me throughout my entire life. And my mom I think that I've acquired a lot of my best qualities from my mom. My mom, like when we were growing up, I'm of a certain age. And when I was growing up in the 80s, there was like all these commercials where there was this mom who'd come out and be like, "Who wants some Kool-Aid?" And all the children from the whole neighborhood would run. And so my mom used to refer to our house as the Kool-Aid house, meaning like, even though I just told you that we did not have um, like we never stayed in one place for very long. Like when I was in, once I settled into a place for however long we might be there, our house was always swarming with people, you know, very, very social. But also my mom was that person who, when other people had issues at home, or things were maybe, I don't know, maybe unsafe or whatever, our home was always like that environment where everybody sort of came to congregate. And I think that I've taken a lot of that, from my mom. And so that's why people, like, you'll see them on social media, like, you know they're all like, oh, mom Pollo, like whenever we go to big gay brunch, it's like, oh, mom Pollo is like doing her mom Pollo thing, type of thing. And that's because I walk into places and I'm like, okay, honey, what do we need to do? Like, what do you need? What do you need right now? Like, can I help you? Let me do this. um the dog is not having it. Shut up, Jasper. So, and then in the world of professional wrestling, I think that um I've had a lot of people who I think influenced me in terms of made me fall more in love with professional wrestling. Austin Idol, who is part of the National Wrestling Alliance, was the first person who made me fall in love with pro wrestling. I've loved countless people over the years, um, in terms of idolizing their work or being really like a super fan, things of that nature. The person that is a kid that I wanted to literally grow up and replicate his career was Jim Cornette. So I've always, whereas other kids probably wanted to grow up and be a pro wrestler, I wanted specifically very much to grow up and be a wrestling manager, and more specifically a wrestling manager of tag teams. So that, I think, is probably like a big part of my wrestling influence. But the people who influence me today, it's very bizarre for me to say, because many of them have become my friends, like that's the weirdest thing. It's like these people who continue to influence me in the moment are my friends. And they are people who, like Zicky Dice and Effie, for example, because of their success on Twitch, influenced me to want to start my own Twitch channel. Um, and the things that Effie does in the world of professional wrestling in terms of breaking down boundaries around being a gay wrestler inspire me on like a daily basis. It amazed me, to be honest. My friend Dark Sheik, who I manage here in Northern California, and who I have had the gift to room with, like on various like little big gay brunch tours and things like that we've done, influences me because she's like this creative genius who like built an entire empire in Northern California of Hood Slam, and then went from being this highly successful professional wrestling business person to going through the process of self-discovery and realizing that she's a transgender woman, and going through that process in the public eye. That, talk about, I don't know that she's influenced me because I'm not going through that same experience, but she's certainly inspired me.
It's funny that you would say that because you definitely are the mom friend.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I definitely caught that at the last big gay brunch.
Yeah, you literally, like, you and I were having a conversation, and all of a sudden I'm like, Val, I have to go because basically I had to like deliver the kids to soccer practice. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, if we had been in a suburb, that would have been doing. But the kids were like, and y'all were watching. When I say the kids, they are fully grown adults. I was like, I have to drop the kids at the airport, the hotel, take them downtown, like, get them something to eat. We have to, so yes, very that.
But also, like, you're a very comforting presence, which is also like a mom trait to me.
I think that I don't know that I don't know that I'm comforting. Like, I can't speak to that.
You are to me.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that. I think that for some people, like what I do think, how that kind of might come across or translate is because I do very well under pressure. You know what I mean? Like, when like something happens, like when the shit hits the fan sort of type of thing, like I sort of go into immediate, like, it's very weird because I may fall apart later on, or like, but whatever, but in the moment it's like, let's fix this. Like, what can I do? Like when the girl at Big A Brunch in Chicago, like Effie was like, I promised everybody food. Now the food is falling through. What are we gonna do? I was like, don't you worry, honey. You go on and wrestle your death match, sweetheart. I'll just take care of this. And he literally was like, okay, like, no, not even a second thought, just like, okay. And I mean, did we have gourmet food in Chicago? No. Was there delicious food? Did we make great money and be able to donate to a charitable cause because there was food? Yes. So, I was like, I'll do the best I can. You just take care of your death match, sweetheart. You go stab them with that light tube, sweetheart. Mommy will take care of the food. Don't you worry.
And breakfast was delightful. There were delicious pastries of different varieties, and I believe there were other things as well. So
there was all kinds of
right?
but you know what? I sure did load that rental car with every kind of snack, cake, pie, brownie, and cookie I could find. And I did it, and they were like, Effie and Brett Lauderdale were like, damn, Pollo did that on a budget. And I was like, I sure did, sweetheart. I was cost comparing and like calculating things up. Effie was like, girl, I think that if I don't be careful, I'm gonna get in charge of snacks at every event. I just need to be calm. I'm like, don't do it, girl.
But you're so good at it, and
I know.
famous last words.
And love snacks. So
I also love snacks.
You're a snack, Val Pancake.
You're a snack. So, what has been your greatest achievement, like in wrestling, so far?
I think that my greatest achievement in wrestling is undoubtedly working with NWA. The National Wrestling Alliance is the organization that I grew up watching. That where other children of my generation may have really turned to the WWF at that time. I grew up in the South, and the South is about the National Wrestling Alliance. It's about, Ric Flair, the National Wrestling Alliance heavyweight champion. It's about all of that history and legacy, 73 years of it, right? And so for me to, number one, there's an actual graphic out there, viewers, with my name and picture and the National Wrestling Alliance logo on it. So that to me is something that as a child I dreamed of, and I never thought, for many reasons, I never thought that would happen. So I think that experience and getting to be part of the NWA family, even if just for one weekend, is the highlight of my career at this point. I think that the highlight of personal achievements in terms of like something I did that is probably what I would consider like the highlight of in terms of showing my skills was fairly recently. I mentioned that I managed the Dark Sheik here in Northern California for a company called Underground Wrestling Alliance. And when Sheik came in to debut with that company, it was the day after she faced Nick Gage at Game Changer down at No Signal in the Hills. So all of these people who were at that show had just seen her for the most part the night before, and had a tremendous amount of newfound respect heaped on top of the fact that she's already a Northern California legend, right? And what we needed to do in that moment was, she was coming in as a heel. She was not supposed to be beloved by the fans, no matter how much they loved her. And it was my job to reinforce that. And if we couldn't have gotten her over as a heel, everything that was sort of like wrapped up in that moment just would not have happened. And so she did very well in getting them to boo her, but not for a prolonged period. So that fell on me. And the fact that, people like Kevin Gill, when we walked out of there, Kevin Gill and some other localized legends, a gentleman named Doc Atrocity, who is definitely a Northern California wrestling legend and very well known for his mic skills, came to me and was like, man, you really saved that whole segment, because it could have gone really south. So for me, I think that was probably one of my crowning achievements. And of course, getting a recent stink face from Journey Fatu, I think, probably ranks up there as well.
So How did you get involved with the NWA? Like, how did that all materialize, if you can tell me?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even know. Like I honest to God, I'm not trying to be facetious. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. Um, what I think happened, what I think happened is very much that thing that I was telling you about yourself, which is that you are an unabashed fan of professional wrestling. And people see that and they value that and they respect that about you and they love that about you and they connect with you on that level. And I think that the fact that I have been like, I happen to be in like tangentially involved in the world of professional wrestling because before Effie's Big Gay Brunch back in April, what I was doing was very like on the outskirts of wrestling. And I think NWA started to see like I've been a fan of theirs for years since they launched Power. And I would tweet about them and I would like message, like, like include their tag them in things and talk about their product in a way that was extremely positive because I am a big fan of what they do. And then when it came that they had announced that Mickey was producing Empower, the first ever NWA all women's pay-per-view, I had reached out to Mickey about an interview and we started messaging back and forth. And by the time the interview rolled around, Mickey, I did the interview with Mickey and then Mickey was like, now that that interview is recorded, I have something I want to talk to you about. And she is the one who asked if I would be interested. And I think a lot of people, by the way, had tagged me in different things like, we want to see Pollo. Da, da, da. But I think that that's really what it came down to is that, they knew they know I'm a fan, not new because I am still a fan. They know I'm still a fan of what they do. And they were wanting to do something different. They were trying to make history on a lot of levels. And that is exactly what happened on August 28th in St. Louis. We made history on a lot of levels.
And so I first became familiar with you through Effie and Zicky.
I'm looking right at you, Val.
Because they did a stream where you dragged them up. Mm-hmm. And how did you get involved with Effie and Zicky in that way?
So it's weird because one of my very first shows ever in pro wrestling was Zicky was on the show. And this was a very different version of Zicky. Like we all go through evolutions and we're talking 5 years ago. So Zicky was very new, still in the world of professional wrestling, very green, very unknown. And I was all of the above as well. So we were on that show and I don't even really remember connecting on that show, but I remembered that we were on that show together. So around that same time, Effie was fairly unknown in the world of professional wrestling too. He was like starting to become a thing. And I hosted a podcast. So I asked Effie to be on because I love talking, it was an LGBTQ oriented podcast. And I'm a fan of wrestling. So it seemed just like a great connection. So Effie and I connected at that same time. So that's 5 years ago. And then fast forward, Zicky until not that long ago, less than a year ago or something like that, maybe a little over a year ago, lived here in Actually, it was almost exactly a year ago that he moved out of California because he moved right around his wedding time, which was in October. So, he moved from here, but while he was here, we had talked about, he was just starting his stream on Twitch and he was like, hey, let's do, something fun. And at that point in time, I was just going to drive to his house because he was local. And fast forward, he's in Atlanta, Effie's in Atlanta. By this point in time, things have started to move forward with the world of wrestling. And I'm like becoming more not well known, but like more involved because the truth is that I had a separate Twitter account entirely just for wrestling content, because I didn't think that if I tweeted as Pollo Del Mar, people would take me seriously at all in the world of professional wrestling. So I went to visit my mom in Florida, and Zicky was like, "Hey, now it seems like a great time. Let's do this thing together." So I, because Jacksonville and Atlanta are like next door to each other. It was only a 6.5 hour drive. So I drove up to Atlanta. Yeah, only. I know exactly. I'm like, that's absurd. But I drove up there and we did it, and it was a super fun time. And it was during the course of that broadcast period, basically, that Zicky is the one who was like, Effie, you need to have Pollo as the host of Big A Brunch. You said you wanted to do that, and like legitimately here she is. So
because Zicky trained at Black and the Brave, which isn't that far from where I am, I saw one of Zicky's like first handful of matches, and boy howdy has he really progressed and come into himself from then to now. So,
right. Well, a big part of that is, in my perspective, is that he has, he's come to understand who Zicky Dice is. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's a big part of it, is like understanding who your character is, what your motivation, like as that character is, and being able to embody that. So I think that Zicky, I think that Zicky is extremely compelling. I think the character is extremely compelling. He's larger than life. A lot of what you see on whatever his Twitch stream or on a show is who Zicky is. Like Zicky is a lot of that in person. So same with Effie. Like maybe the volume is turned down, but both of them are pretty much what you see is what you get. And in my case, what you see is mostly what you get, but with a lot of pancake makeup. No offense, Val.
None taken, my dear. But I think that there's something to that, and you hear that in wrestling a lot, is it's just like I have mine on my mantle over there, actually, because I too was awarded an Effie.
Did he hand it to you personally?
No, it was mailed to me.
He handed mine to me personally in Zicky Dice's house. I was delighted.
Aww. Did you do an acceptance speech?
On the spot. I think this is because after all the years of trying, and the people at home, and thank you, God, for making me a homosexual.
But like I was saying, you hear that a lot in wrestling, is like the best character, or when people are at their best, is when they're just themselves, but like more themselves.
Yes. And I think that a big part of that is because, like, this is like in anything, like I think that for example, like we see this a lot in personal interactions, just like not wrestling related at all. But if people are genuine and authentic and themselves, it's easy to connect with them. It's easy versus people who like, there's something like a barrier of some kind, like between you and them. Like, think about people in your work life or whatever, like the people who sort of are like come across as very genuine or easy to connect to, but the people who are like hiding behind a role, like I'm the manager and I have to, it's like, it's not as easy. And so when it comes to the world of professional wrestling, like, unless somebody is scripting everything for you and you are a really good actor, the easiest thing to deliver is something where you don't have to even think of, like, I know what I would say. I know what I would do in an experience or a situation. And, Pollo Del Mar is an extension of me. And I think, like, there's certainly elements of that character that I turn up, or like I will insert things. Like I cut this really scathing promo, not on you, actually. It was somebody else.
Like on me?
Several of those on you, Val Pancakes, but on somebody else, and somebody, like, people didn't know like where the reality and the fiction blurred? Like, where did they cross? And I said, well, everything about that promo real, with the exception of the bitterness, because I wasn't bitter, but like for there to be a motivation, it had to come from that place. And so I think for any of us who are trying to go out there and win an audience over, most of us feel really clearly when somebody's putting on a show versus somebody who's like speaking from a place of at least modicum of reality.
Yeah, I think that you absolutely can tell when someone's being genuine versus when someone isn't. And I know that for me, even in the things that I've been doing, um, I'm just myself, only like all the best parts of myself.
Right.
Like Val Pancakes is all the best parts of who I am as a person. And
yeah.
And like, I think that you're right in that people recognize when you're being genuine and real. And I try to be genuine and real in everything that I do. And I think that, to what you were saying before, like that's why people care that I do things.
Yeah. I mean, because they like that's exactly it, because it's authentic. It's not like, it doesn't come across as a show, or it doesn't come across as disingenuous. Like, I'll give you an example of something that you witnessed firsthand, like that promo I cut at Big Gay Brunch that like sort of like went crazy on social media for a hot second. People were like, oh my God, like, how did you plan that? How did you prepare for that? Like, whatever. And I was like, I didn't. I came out there and like shared my life experience. Like, I spoke from the heart about why things like Big Gay Brunch, or why it's important to support organizations that support us, or why it's important what we're doing, because this shit did not exist when I was growing up. And not just when I was growing up, but like the generations, multiple, not one generation, multiple generations after me were, like, this is something that is new, and it will change things for people going forward. And that was just my life experience, like it wasn't a promo, like, that was just speaking from the heart. And that's why people were like, wow, that it's powerful, or I relate to that, or that resonates with me. Yeah, because it's real. It's a real thing.
I love that little promo, that I guess promo or like segment that you did when you did that. For me, I'm openly pansexual, and the first Big Gay Brunch was the first thing that I had gone to that was, it felt like, for me, since I came out. And I cried a little bit the first time, not gonna lie, because it was like these are my people. They're my queer wrestling people.
Yeah, and the thing about that was, for like that, like that spiel that I gave, like it sort of just came out. Like, that was not scheduled. That was not on the run sheet, right? Like, I was supposed to go out there and talk about like wrestling is not gay, where you can buy some like wrestling is not gay shit and whatever. And then and plug the pastries. That's what I was supposed to do. Like, plug the website, plug the pastries, get the hell out. And then I like, and then that just sort of came out. And for me, like, the thing that I really love about Big Gay Brunch, I mean, among many, there's a bazillion things, but one of the things I love very much about Big Gay Brunch is how it makes a space that's welcoming to an entire spectrum. It's not like really specific to any one thing. There's people across the whole spectrum of sexualities, from like our we do have heterosexual allies on that show many times, and then we have people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum. I do think that for a lot of people, like, I'm like maybe close to the far end, because I'm like pretty extreme, like whatever. But we have that whole breadth of our community, and we show how each one of those varying shades of sexuality and gender identity is special, unique, and different. And I love that, because that's really what it means to be part of our community. We're a huge and all-encompassing umbrella of people And while we may have commonalities and common interests and things that we all love, we're all still really unique. And it's impossible to pigeonhole any two of us in the same slot, right? If you want to be pigeonholed in this, I've got that one for you. I'm so stupid.
No, you're not. But you're a little wacky. But that's one of the many reasons why I adore you so much. Go from talking to something so heavy and then follow it up with.
I know. It's just very neat.
So I've seen recently, it looks like you've gotten a little bit more physically involved in some of your matches.
Yes, I have. That's not been entirely uncommon throughout my career in professional wrestling. Like I've been in a variety of altercations, but I've only been in one match. It was horrible, like, because I don't wrestle, but legitimately the very first thing that I ever did that kind of got me involved heavily in pro wrestling was I jumped into a battle royal and eliminated somebody. So, because they pissed me off. So that's not entirely uncommon, but I think that, I foresee presumably like I'll have that same kind of level of physical involvement in my like my clients' matches as other professional wrestling managers do. And that means that when the time and place presents itself that they need some assistance, I will do so.
Do you have you been trained, or do you plan on getting training?
Honey, I'm too old to train.
Never.
I figure
you're what, 30? You have plenty of time.
With tax, change and tax, a shipping and handling fee, a convenience charge. Keep adding some things on there, boo. But anyway, I have not been formally trained. I have been trained well enough to do a few things, only a very, very few things. But the flip side of that is I'm also against better judgment and sensibilities, fairly fearless. So, I will tell you that stink face, people are like, oh my God, was it horrible having Journey Fatu's ass in your face? I was like, listen, honey, Journey Fatu is actually quite a snack. I've had worse asses in my face, but the part that killed me was having that big bastard throw me into the corner and crush me under 325 pounds. I still have a pain in my lower back, and I will take it out on Journey and Jacob Fatu at my earliest convenience. But in terms of going to like ongoing training, I don't plan on getting thrown off a scaffold anytime soon, but who knows?
What? Just think, full drag, just thrown through a door.
I can tell you that almost happened once.
Ooh.
It almost happened. I was the one who was like, remember when we did Fearless? It was in June, not that long after the Tampa Big Gay Brunch, and we were all in Vegas together. Like, not you, but like meaning a lot of us from Big Gay Brunch. We were in Vegas together to do the show for the Dark Sheep produced on there. And Effie, at the last minute, we didn't think Effie was going to be able to appear because he couldn't get on a plane. And so I was like, I'll go in, I'll sub in for him. And I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but like, certainly it would have ended up with me through a door, I can promise you.
Through a door and into the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Quite possibly. I was like, just make sure I land ass first. The ass is all padding.
Land ass first.
Exactly. Land ass first. You don't know how many times I've had to say that.
Boyo.
Oh, well.
This is a family show.
I know. You don't know how many families I've said that to. You've got a brother? Or hot dad, maybe? Kissing cousin?
You might have broken me. Um, so what has been the greatest obstacle that you've overcome in wrestling?
That's an easy one. The greatest obstacle I've overcome, not just in the world of professional wrestling, but in my entire life, is self-doubt. You know, like I told myself I could not do this. I told myself when I was very young that professional wrestling was not a world that was meant for me because of who I am. I told myself that I would not be accepted, that I could not have success or achievements there. And not just in wrestling, but in other things. Like my brain has told me that. But specifically when it became about wrestling, because of my perception of what the wrestling world was like, what the wrestling audience is like, what the expectations of a professional wrestler or those involved in the world of professional wrestling were, someone like me did not fit into that equation. And I allowed my brain to convince me that that was true. And what that equated to was putting off trying for many, many years. So it took me like coming to grips and becoming very comfortable with myself, coming to grips and being comfortable with accepting both the positive and negative aspects of who I am. And that most of that does not equate to my sexuality whatsoever. And it came to knowing what I'm very good at and what I can do, and focusing on those things and putting those out into the world so that the world could embrace those, as opposed to relying on what my fears were about who I am and how that would prevent me from doing the things I loved. So it wasn't until I was able to push aside all of those elements of internalized homophobia and the fear of how people might judge me if I did what I wanted to do, for me to allow myself to even try. And the interesting fact is that perhaps it's just happened that while I was going through that process of like self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-love, and self-appreciation, the world was also starting to evolve simultaneously, so that they created this perfect storm a few years ago that the wrestling world was ready for that, and I was ready for the wrestling world. But whatever the case is, I know that if I had not challenged those self-critical, negative thoughts that still occur in my head, that I would never have put myself out there and made the effort and attempt. And if you don't try, you can't win.
I can appreciate that. You and I have talked plenty, and you know that I also have those thoughts in my head, and you are wonderful and do your best to try to tell me to shut them up. So
Right. Like the thing is this though, like Val, and it's not one of those things when I tell you like those things, like when I challenge those thoughts, like says, like, you know, there's certain tools that I had to adopt as I grew older and matured. And like one of the things that works really well for me is like you when I like when my brain's like you can't or you shouldn't or you don't, or you know, people like you, I say, says who? Like who says that? Like whose rule is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do this. Says who? Who says I can't do that? Like, why shouldn't I be able to do that? And you know, those are things that are part of the human condition. Self-doubt, um, like being extra harsh on ourselves, those are part of the human condition. That's what it means to be human, because most of us go through that. I think that some of us may do it very publicly. You know, people see that happening, and others have kind of gotten a coping mechanism where when that happens inside their head, it goes through a filter where it's like sometimes it gets passed, but most of the time it doesn't. And that's where I'm at in my life. Like a lot of times, like that's the first thought that comes up, but then I'm just like, I challenge it. And when I say those things to you, I'm like, well, who says you can't do those things? Like, why shouldn't you be able to do that? You know, like, and a few times I'm going to call you out right here in front of everybody. You've been like, nobody wants that. I'm like, shut up. Like, you know what? You don't know what people want. You don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what people will or won't accept. I don't know what they, whatever. But sometimes I don't give a shit what they want. Like, I don't care if you want that. That's what you're getting. You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't ask if you want it. Like, this is what's, it's like when I used to come home for dinner and my mom would be like, I'd be like, I don't want that. My mom would be like, well, then your ass is gonna starve because I don't ask what you want. This is what you're getting. You're either gonna eat it or you're gonna go hungry. You know, like either people are gonna love you or they're not gonna love you. And where they fall in that spectrum, that's not your concern. Like, you being happy with you and doing things that make you happy is what's important. Girl, that's what I told you. Flash all your breasts. Put all your boobs on the internet, girl. I don't care. Like, you live your best life. I live my best life. Do you think for 1 minute that, like, when I was getting ready to go to NWA, I knew, girl, it's the National Effing Wrestling Alliance, the most old school of old school. Do you think that I didn't know that there was going to be some pushback to me being there? Of course I did. Do you think I cared? It entered my head, and then I was like, they can absolutely go F themselves. Like, I don't care. Like, this is my best life. This is my opportunity. If you don't like it, turn the channel. Like, if they don't like what you like, if they don't want to see the flapjacks on the snack cake, honey, hit the bricks, bitch.
Everybody, motivational Pollo Del Mar.
That's right. If you're watching this and you want to put your titties on the internet, you do it too, including Mama Pancakes. Put your boobs right out there, Mama Pancakes. I don't give a goddamn. Live your best life. You get one boob. Live it.
This is why I'm
like, Val, I need to know who this person is so I can block them on all social media.
My mom has no social media except for Facebook, and literally all she does is creep. She doesn't ever like or comment on anything. I've never once seen her do it, but she knows what you're putting on there.
Oh, well, I have a lot of friends like that, actually. Like, basically, they just spy on people.
Like, mom's out there creeping. But moving on to some more, like, just straight wrestling related questions.
Straight wrestling.
I mean, the questions are more straightforwardly wrestling. There's nothing straight about this conversation, me or you, or wrestling, really.
No, there's not.
Which, fantastic, wonderful, should always be that way.
It always has been that way, to be honest. So
yeah. So what would be your, like, a dream tag team for you to manage? Because I know you're managing Money, Power, Respect. Is that Money, Power, Respect? I was gonna say, I thought so. But then I was like, what if I got the words wrong, like a ding dong?
No, you wouldn't be the first, you won't be the last. But I absolutely, like, I love working with Money, Power, Respect, and my dream is actually that the three of us will have a great deal of success together. I've been pushing. I've been pushing, and there's things like that I'm still going to be pushing. I want them in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Top 50. I want them to go to National Wrestling Alliance. I want them to challenge La Revolucion for the NWA World Tag Team titles. Those are all, I want that homegrown talent, right? If I had to, like, put together a tag team of people that I would love to work with, I don't know, I don't have names off the top of my head immediately that come to mind, but I definitely think that I would put together a team that would give that very old school flavor of the Midnight Express, like the slightly more experienced wrestler, like Dennis Condrey was when he started being paired up with Bobby Eaton, or like that combination of, like, speed and finesse, like we saw with Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton later on. So, like, that's my favorite tag team of all time. So I would certainly want something groomed in that kind of vein.
If you had your own, like, faction or stable, what would you name it?
I do have a faction and a stable in Underground Wrestling Alliance, and we are called The Agenda. You're either
Oh,
you are either with the agenda or you're on our agenda, Val. Meaning, like, you know, we have something that, like, it's like just like any agenda. Like there's a motivation, there's a mission, and then, you know, if you get added to the new business, honey, you're the first to go. And if you're old business, we will revisit you, and you will be taken off the agenda very quickly.
so
So
who's in the agenda?
the agenda, we just debuted 3 weeks ago in Underground Wrestling Alliance. It is led by, like, obviously the manager of champions, Pollo Del Mar, with the UGWA San Jose / Oakland champion, Dark Sheik. Sheik's longtime Hood Slam tag team partner, Anton Voorhees. As a team, they are called the Caution. And then Fabuloso Fabricio and Marco Mania, Money, Power, Respect. So it's 2 tag teams, 1 manager, 5 of us total right now, but I can promise you there's more to come. And that's why nothing in Underground Wrestling Alliance or Northern California Professional Wrestling is safe, because the agenda has formed and it's on the move.
Nice. I like that. I'm not as familiar with Underground Wrestling Alliance, just because I can only see what I can see.
I know.
And you know, like when I watch stuff on IWTV, and I have watched them numerous times. But I do really like the Caution. I feel like they did a lot in Hood Slam. Yes, I feel like I've seen them in Hood Slam quite a bit. So exciting to hear you leading 2 very capable tag teams to certain victory.
Yeah, we have got, you know, she already debuted in UGWA and won her championship the very first match she was there. And though Money, Power, Respect has debuted, they have not wrestled their first match yet. But I will say that just a few weeks ago at East Bay Pro Wrestling, they faced the Underground Wrestling Alliance tag team champions, world's freshest tag team, and voila, we beat them. So we defended our titles against them very successfully. So let's see if they can do the same when the time comes.
So
I'm taking those belts. I'm taking all the belts.
well,
We're gonna have to look like an octopus, because we're gonna have so many arms that we need just to hold all the titles.
are you gonna like hire people just to hold the belts?
I might do exactly that. I might have minions just behind me, like in green screen outfits, so that they don't even show up in photos. I can just put a backdrop in and just have them holding all the belts. We already have 2 sets of tag team titles, and I have 2, maybe 3 more that I'm looking at. I'm taking the boys everywhere. We're going to Sacramento. We're going to Sacramento for Supreme Pro Wrestling in just a couple of weeks, and very soon I believe we'll have the SPW tag team titles. Like, there's just so many. There's so many.
I'll have to hire some twinks to.
F the twinks. I'm gonna hire bears. I want people who can actually withstand a little weight.
Even better.
Mm-hmm.
So they can really like maybe hold 2 belts.
I mean, I know Marco would appreciate more bears than twinks. Marco loves a bear.
Heard it here first.
Oh yeah. I don't think you heard it. You might have heard it here, but I don't think that it's the first. I mean, pretty much everybody knows that Marco loves the bears.
So when you're on the road, because you're on the road now.
It's crazy, but it's kind of true.
Right? So what is your like go-to road music?
Ooh, for driving, like if I'm yeah, like I do, first of all, I do a lot of driving in general in my day job as well, but I have a lot of various playlists, but honest to God, I like listen to, like, when I'm in the car, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I also, crazily enough, will like literally put my phone like up on the dash in this thing and have like wrestling shows playing through the sound system. Like I was driving home today to do this with you while watching Ohio Valley Wrestling in stop and go traffic, which, like, if you're on California Highway Patrol, I'm I'm totally paying attention, I promise. But like yeah, like I that's how I watch a lot of wrestling just by listening to it, which is one of the reasons why having a really solid announce team is so important for pro wrestling, because even when I'm watching it like on a screen, like half the time I'm only listening.
Yeah, good commentary can really make or break your show.
Absolutely correct. That's why, like, I just tweeted today, like, how why I think Kevin Gill, for example, should be much more in demand than he is. Kevin Gill is one of the UGWA. I'm sorry, he's my UGWA co-announced team member, and he's also a GCW standard and staple on the announced team there. But so makes a huge difference. But back to your original question, I didn't mean to sidestep that. Like um, I play a lot of. I have a lot of dance music that I play. I have a lot of like songs that like when new songs come out every Tuesday, I always download new shit. So my music is always pretty much updated. The new song that I've been listening to a lot more than I would like to admit is Walker Hayes and Kesha, Fancy Like. That song is like, it's so cute. I like it. Fancy Like Applebee's on a date night.
Okay. I was like, I don't think I know that song. And then you said that, and I said, okay, I know that song.
Yep. 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 Everybody knows that song.
So, what would be the most surprising song that you regularly listen to?
Oh my gosh. I, I think that it would probably be surprising only because probably most people don't even know the artist. There's a song called Work It by a singer named Madison that I am fully planning to start using as my solo entrance music at upcoming shows. So I listen to that on a very, very regular basis. We were trying to get that as our entrance music actually at NWA. Jamie and I both loved that song. So it's called Work It by an artist named Madison. And it's somebody that I had known from a number of years ago because she had a great dance hit I liked. Um, the and then I think other surprising songs that I probably listen to on a fairly like regular basis that might surprise some people. I listen to a few songs that are like Broadway musical stuff because those are some of my staples for when I actually perform drag, you know, like when I'm doing lip sync performances. So those I don't know that that would seem necessarily surprising that a drag queen's listening to some shit from a musical, but I think that when people think of me in the context of drag now, many more people think of me in the context of drag in wrestling than drag doing what I did for 15 years as a career. So that's part of it. And then um I also I really like country music. So I like all kinds of music, but um the most surprising, probably now that I'm thinking about it, like the most surprising songs that I listen to are by a horrorcore rapper named Chuckles. Uh because that it's like I don't know, like I listen to it quite a lot now and know like all the words to it. So yeah, it's Chuckles, Chucklez. So that like that to me seems easy. I don't think that people look at me and like, yeah, horrorcore rap fan. And I don't think I am a horrorcore rap fan, but it's very like in the Juggalo kind of world, that kind of music. So, but I've become a big fan of Chuckles. Chuckles is somebody who is very supportive of the local wrestling scene, and as you might have noticed, Val, people who support the wrestling scene, I support in turn.
That is surprising to me, actually.
Yeah.
So, what Broadway songs do you do in drag?
Oh God. So my favorite, there's a couple of favorites. One is from Steel Pier, and that one is called Everybody's Girl. And that's one of my favorite songs to perform. Another Broadway staple that is an absolute favorite is Bring on the Men from Jekyll and Hyde. I perform those quite often. In fact, I've got a show coming up on the 8th, and I will perform one or the other of those because the songs are sort of in the same vein. So in terms of like content, so I usually perform one or the other. But like When You're Good to Mama from Chicago, of course, is another one that I perform a lot. And one of my favorite songs of all to perform is like, I prefer to do it like in a look that's appropriate, but is Poor Unfortunate Souls from Little Mermaid.
I would absolutely love to see you perform that, especially in a look that I can only imagine is Ursula-esque.
It is, of course, like I have white hair that goes up. I sometimes I'll even do my face purple. I have a evening gown that is really fitted, but it's purple with black. It looks a little bit, it's not intended to necessarily like replicate it, but it's inspired by, so you sort of like, it's got the black kind of like patterns going down the side, and it's rhinestone. It like blings out. I love it.
I would love to see that someday, straight up. um so when you're on the road, and you've already stated that you like snacks, what are your favorite road snacks?
Oh God, I try really, really hard not to eat a whole bunch of junk on the road, which is very difficult for me at times. So um it's gonna go one of two ways. Like if I'm um like one of the things that I like to do is, if I'm trying to be slightly healthier, um I would go with like nuts, you know, good salty nuts, Val. But if I'm on keto, which is like every it's either I'm like being a complete pig, or I'm on keto trying to like regulate because my weight is a complete yo-yo. If I'm on keto, my favorite road snack is pork rinds, because they're keto friendly, and I just like hork them down until I'm, but always the staple in my life is energy drinks and Diet Mountain Dew.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What's your go-to energy drink?
I really love Bang, but somebody at Big A Brunch was telling me that Bang is sort of like not so LGBTQ plus friendly now, and I'm kind of bummed to hear that. That like Bang energy drinks, like my favorite is Cherry Blade Lemonade. But I'm trying to like get over that. They told me that the new Rain energy drinks are more friendly. I think Rockstar is also pretty friendly. I usually drink either the Bang Cherry Blade Lemonade, or just a regular white Rockstar, like the sugar-free Rockstars. I really like those.
It seems like everybody that, like, 'cause I don't do energy drinks, but like people that do have like that their go-to, like this is the one, just like anything else.
Absolutely. And this guy, the funny thing is, like, I never really messed around with Bangs and like the Bang energy drinks. And then I went to this convenience store and was getting my traditional Rockstar, and the guy was like, "Did you know that Bang is like even more caffeine?" And I immediately was like, it was like a needle on a record in my brain. I was like, I'll be more cracked out. Amazing. I like went back and I was like, got them. And when I first started, I couldn't even finish drinking one because they were so like, now I'm up to like 2 during a car drive. And then I still take a nap when I get home. Y'all, I'm messed up.
But I appreciate a good nap. So nap all you need to.
And my dogs are so like the one, he's so like cuddly, like a teddy bear. Not the one that bitches, not Jasper. He's annoying as shit, to be honest.
I'm surprised we haven't seen another run-in from.
No, because I told him to hit the bricks. Jasper's looking at me out of one eye because I keep mentioning his name, and he's like, and the other one's asleep in his bed.
Aww.
And I'm not saying his name because he will wake up and then come bug me. The reason they can't is because this is my good money, power, respect shirt, and they'll get dog hair all over it, and I don't want to have to wash it right away.
That's fair. You can't have something like money, power, respect be.
And it's all glittery. I don't want to wash it too many times that all my gorgeous glitter comes off of it.
I love glitter.
It's lovely.
It is a beautiful shirt.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Where can people find those if they would like to
I don't
purchase
even,
one?
well, to be honest, like right now they're not available to the general
Oh,
public. It's an exclusive club that we have these for.
that's
Like
fair.
this is for the team. At some point, I'm telling you right now, we've already discussed this. We're like, this shirt's gorgeous. People would buy it. We could sell a shit ton of these probably, even if they don't know what it's about. It's beautiful and it's like glittered. And I was like, then I told them, I was like, boys, take it from me. We'll sell them in a different color. So only certain people have certain colors, and then we can tell who's who. You have to have exclusivity on things.
I mean, that makes sense. You can't just show your whole hand. You gotta
Exactly correct.
hold some back.
We're thinking about like maybe letting people have them in white, and then we'll have them all in gold.
Gold because you're champions.
Yeah,
and that's what champions have.
Exactly correct.
That would make sense. Seems logical.
Absolutely correct.
Do you have any like pre-show rituals either for when you do wrestling or when you do drag?
Yes. Like first of all, like the rituals are I think are different. Well, they're not different actually. I was just talking about this with somebody. I believe it or not, I always say a prayer. I always say a prayer before I go to start any of my stuff, like just because of the fact it's just it is I say the Serenity Prayer. A lot of people probably know that prayer, and it's just very simple that like kind of allow me to have an understanding of what it is that is in my power to change here. Let me basically let me do my best, understand what I can control, what I can't control, and just roll with punches.
That's cute. So if you had an action figure of Pollo Del Mar, but it was like one of the ones that like you pulled the string or you hit the button and it like had a phrase, what would you want it to say, and what accessory or accessories would it come with?
I think at this juncture, that the pull string would say, "How very dare you! How very dare you, Val Pancakes!" And I do want to show you something that I'm digging it out. You may or may not recognize this little outfit. This is one of my fans made this doll of me.
Aww.
Based on the outfit that I wore. You remember this? This is the outfit I wore to the very first gay brunch.
Yeah. Aww.
And it's hand painted and handcrafted. Oh my gosh, no, the hand painting is starting to come off. I need to spray your belly. But but yeah, that like it was made for me and sent to me by a fan, a really wonderful person who like saw me. So that look and that outfit is what I wore in my pro wrestling like debut. So that bit was based on that, and then you saw that outfit again. It came out again at Big Gay Brunch. And so what accessories would it have? I think that it would probably have interchangeable really tall boots, like really tall heels. And I think that it would probably have at least like I imagine it where you could like snap different hair onto it, like so different looks of hair based on the the need.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to have the right hair to go with the outfit, to go with the boots. So
absolutely. So
only makes sense.
Of course it does.
Besides your phone and your outfits and gear, what's something you would never go on a wrestling trip without?
Oh my gosh. Like so basically when you say my gear, you mean like everything involved in that, right?
Yeah, like your whole outfit, makeup, the whole nine.
Right. My phone, besides my phone, like the thing that I never go anywhere without is an extra set of contact lenses, and that's because I've been places before and my vision is horrendous. And like, if I lose a contact, I'm ruined. I can't, like, I can't do anything. So I always carry extra contact lenses with me. I also carry almost always in my, like, packed in with my stuff is sinus medication, because I have tremendous sinus issues no matter where I travel to. So very, like, you know, like when I pack, it's legit like every mom packs. It's like, honey, do you need a napkin? Do you need a Tylenol? Oh my God, honey, I got some Tums. Don't worry. Like, legit, for real, it's that. It's
Note to self.
I mean, it's 100% true. In my like overnight bag, like there's Tums, sinus pills, Tylenol, safety pins, bobby pins, like I mean, just you name it. You
So
never know.
if I ever need anything, check with you.
Yes, and then I will probably have immediately lost it. That's the other thing. Like it may take me an hour to find it, because I'll be like, I know it's here somewhere, Val. But yeah. Oh, the other thing I never travel without is my reading glasses. Even though I've got contacts in, like, I've spent too much time on my phone and my computer, or since COVID started a year and a half ago, and I'm pretty sure that my retinas are burned out. So
you don't need them. You don't need the retinas. You'll be fine.
I don't need to see things clearly. It's overrated.
I would probably do better if I didn't see things clearly, but here we are. So what is the weirdest request you've gotten from a fan? And that can be, again, either in wrestling or in drag.
Oh my God. I've gotten first of all, like, when you do drag, you will get a significant number of people who make really, really awkward sexual advances at you. Really awkward. The other thing that will happen is that people that you don't even know will start, like, I used to get, like, I was getting incessant calls through Instagram, you know, like how you can do like the Instagram call or whatever, from people I have no idea who they are. And like, and I don't want to seem like nationalistic or xenophobic or whatever, but their name would be written in languages I didn't even understand. And I was like, I clearly do not know you. And then I would be like, I would try to be so polite, like, thank you for trying to call, but I don't take calls from strangers. And I, like, finally I would have to, like, I was blocking so many people. And then I did get, this is like, I'm going to tell you one of the weirdest requests I ever got. And one of the few things that I regret in my life. Like, probably close to 10 years ago, this random guy messaged me on Facebook and said, I would like to pay you $250 to for you to get in drag and like basically degrade me, like verbally degrade me, while I clean your house. And I was like, oh my God, what kind of a person do you think I am? And I went off on the guy. And then now, a decade later, clearer minds prevail. I like making money. I'm a horrible bitch and degrade people verbally no matter what. And I don't like to clean. This would have been a win-win-win situation. I could be rolling in money and living in a clean house right now. Alas, here we are. The place is a dump. I'm broke most of the time. And that guy is getting degraded by some other bitch.
I mean, I understand, but then he would have known where you lived.
That's fine, because when he came over here, I'd have been like, listen, you piece of ish, clean that bathroom right now. And he'd have just thrown money at me.
Like, I always worry, like, I don't want people to know where I live, because then they could pop up sometime.
Look, I've got Gladys Kravitz living upstairs. I can't pass gas in the night without her knowing what I had for dinner, okay? She knows far too much. So I don't really worry about that shit.
Fair enough.
Yeah, she's been here. Like I've lived here for 17 years. She knows everything.
Sounds like a fun neighbor.
Oh, she's a neighbor, all right.
What is the wrestling word that you use most outside of wrestling?
Gimmick. It's the word that every wrestler uses the most outside of wrestling. Like wrestlers like will be like, no matter what it is, they like everything is a gimmick, y'all. Like that's what they'll be like. Somebody literally was like, pass me that water gimmick. And I was like, this water bottle? And I was like, they're like, yeah. I mean, it's like it's a water bottle. You can really like gimmick means anything. Like, oh, somebody said, do you have that fire gimmick? He was like trying to smoke, and I was like, you mean the lighter? How difficult is it to say this shit? Like this is not normal. The fire gimmick? What are you talking? Oh, the lighter?
Gimmick is the one that I hear most often when I ask that question.
Everybody says it.
See, for me, mine is pop. Like, oh, that popped me every time.
So, like, I think personally, probably, like, I will say pop more than gimmick, but it depends on the situation, because when you get around somebody who says the gimmick all the time, then you start gimmicking.
Yeah, then that's your gimmick.
Exactly.
So, between your traveling for wrestling and traveling for drag, I'm sure you have like a really good travel story.
About relating to what?
Oh, just travel, either like something crazy that happened on the road, or something really funny, or like exciting, something. Everyone has like a memorable travel story.
Well, I think that God, I don't know that I have an exciting one for either wrestling or relating to drag. Like, you know what I mean? I think that like I don't like travel. I don't like I want to travel a lot, but I don't like the process. Like I love being places, but I hate getting there. And like, so for me, like that period, like I get tremendous anxiety. Like I get super anxious knowing I have to go to the friggin' airport. So like the process of travel is never specifically fun for me, but I will say that when we were going to like one of the things that like recently like stands out to me is like, so to get to Missouri, like I flew from here into, I think Denver, maybe, I don't know. I flew from here to somewhere, and then, oh yeah, it was to Denver, but the planes to St. Louis, like Denver has like, San Francisco doesn't have this because San Francisco is a hub, like a major hub. In Denver, we were there and I legit saw these people, like 6 people get off a plane, because it was like a teeny tiny plane and it had landed and like come up, and it was like from Missoula somewhere or whatever, like some random place. And I was like, oh my God. And I was taking pictures of it, like for my mom, like look, mom, like there's a, but and the funny thing was, like, I then stopped to take a picture of our plane, because our plane going to St. Louis was also not teeny tiny, but quite small by comparison with the stuff I normally fly. So I'm taking the picture of it. And so like this person, like people were behind me were passing. And then when I got to Missouri, I realized that one of the people who straight up walked past me was Debbie Malenko, who was in the main event with us. And she was like, I was like, were you on that plane? She goes, oh, you were the one who was stopping and taking pictures. And I was like, oh my God, well, that's mortifying. But yes, that was me, Debbie. So yeah, I mean, in general, like I don't know. It's hard for me to like think of any cool travel, like in terms of like the actual travel part. But I will say that the more I've been traveling for wrestling, like I always have loved, like, I've been really lucky because we have that communal type of living environment when we're on the road together. Like most of the time a lot of us are in the same hotel or type of thing. And it just sort of like becomes like living back with my fraternity, where like just like knocking on doors, like, hey girl, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? So, and I do love that. Oh, I will also tell you, relating to being on the road, when we were in Chicago, like I ended up getting run out of my, I was sharing a room with Effie. By the way, I love Effie so much, but don't share a room with him if you can keep from it, because Effie does not sleep the whole weekend. Like Effie's just go, 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 in, party, like next event, da, da. And so I'm not like that. I need to sleep. So we were there, and then at like 3 o'clock, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to pass out. And just then we got a knock on the door, and it was like Nick Gage, Mance Warner, like all the whole like GCW crew. I was like, oh my God. And then I tried to come back later to see if it was like cleared out, and it wasn't. But even in the midst of all of that, Joey Janela was passed out in the other room, and I was just like, okay. I was like, can I come and stay with you? She's like, sure, sis. Like, so yeah, thank God. Because the next day was Big A brunch. I was like, I need to sleep. I'm gonna look like a hag. I can't do this.
You didn't just cuddle up next to Joy Janela and
no, somebody else was cuddling up next to Joey Janela, and
ooh. The secret for a later time.
We'll see if maybe they'll tell somebody about it, but it's not going to be me that tells their secrets.
No Bald Monkeys exclusive today.
No, because I have to see these people, girl. I want to keep working.
Fair. So what would you tell a 10-year-old version of yourself if you could go back in time to when you were a child? Like, how would you, like, what would you say to yourself?
That's hard to say, because I really believe in that whole idea that like everything that happened to me needed to happen for me to be the person I am today. So I don't, I, as much as like some experiences in my life were painful or difficult or like you know, unfortunate, like there's been a lot of, you know, like it's life, and so things happen. But if I would not want to change anything about that, because it's what got me to this moment as the person I am today. And I love the person I am today. I like the person I've become. And I would be so afraid to risk anything that would change that. But, you know, if I could say something to that kid um and not like, you know, I don't think I would say anything. I would other than just like maybe give him a hug and be like, you're okay. Don't, you know, don't let them tell you any different. You're good. It'll all work out the way you need it to. And I'm sure I could come up with something much more inspirational than that, but I stand firmly behind the idea and concept that every step of the way, what happened was supposed to happen just the way it was, to get me where I needed to be, you know, where I needed to be right now in my life. And I don't think I've ever been happier in my entire life than I am right now.
Like, I love to hear that. Like, I'm glad that like you're out there like living your best life.
I am. You know, I'm living not only my best life, but I'm living the life that I dreamed about. You know, like I dreamed of this life. And I think that one of the great things about having gone through hardships, or having had self-doubt and having to work past it, and having things that I wanted and having them taken away from me, is that it allowed me to get to a place where I appreciate very much the things that are happening in my life, and I don't take it for granted. Like every day, like I wake up and it feels like some new wonderful miracle has happened. And I feel like I have an appreciation for that a person that I was even 10 years ago probably wouldn't have. So, you know, I don't like this is like everything that I've ever dreamed of happening is happening. It may not be happening at like the highest levels, but it doesn't need to happen like that just yet. You know, I'm appreciating it every step of the way, so that, you know, because I may not have another big gay brunch, or I may not have another NWA, or I may not have anything. I don't know that. But what I have now makes me very happy, and I'm extremely content, because it's more than I was ever promised.
More inspirational words from Pollo Del Mar.
Well,
but like, I love to hear it. I'm glad that you're happy and doing your thing, and that wrestling is a part of it, and that I have been able to meet you and interact with you, and be friends, I guess, as much as we.
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be like, hey, you're my friend. You're like, whoa, hold the phone. Like,
Well, I have a delightful person who tells me on Twitter every day that I'm their best friend and we've never met in person or had a conversation. So you know, you and I have actually spent time together. So like,
do I have to fight them?
So no, because
Okay.
they're wonderful. I just wish they would have better friends in their real life so that they wouldn't have to rely on me so much. But I'm happy to be their friend.
Aw. Pollo Del Mar, happy to be your friend.
Unless you're my opponent, and then
Oh man. So a couple of quick goofy questions, and then we'll go to Chuck for questions from the chat and a lightning round.
woohoo!
And then we'll wrap it up. So you're almost done with your time with me. I know it's been probably very painful, but I appreciate
Oh
you
my
putting
God, shut up. You know what's painful?
Tonight.
Accidentally sitting on your nuts because they're tucked underneath you in drag. That's painful. Spending time with you, that's painful, Val. Oh my God, one time I was in drag and I slid into a booth at a Denny's diner and one of my nuts totally went under my other leg. It was the most painful thing. That's painful, Val. Spending time with you, not painful.
You made me snort laugh.
Mm.
You broke me. I'm sorry. I can't say I've ever had that happen to me.
Well,
but it sounds terrifying.
It's fucking horrible.
Okay. Whew. On that note, I know that we've talked in Twitter Spaces. This is a space-based question. What is the biggest animal that you could take in a fight with just your hands, no weapons?
The biggest animal I could take in a fight, just my hands, no weapons. Girl, I don't know, because I'm not much on like physically fighting, and I love animals, so I'm not sure.
Pretend it was attacking you, and you had to.
Yeah. The biggest one, I think that I could probably like muster like at least a large dog. Yeah, I think a good large dog probably.
Fair enough. A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
So this is a very Val Pancakes related question. How do you usually take your pancakes?
Okay, so I am very, very specific about the way I eat pancakes. It drives my best friend batshit. So I like my pancakes with very little butter on it. I don't like them to be soggy. I do not want the syrup on top of them. I cut them and pick up a bite and then individually apply syrup in just the right amount, and then I eat them.
So cut pancake syrup, you syrup each time.
Yes, so like it's cut the pancake, pick it up, put the syrup on it, or like dip the just.
I was gonna say, have you thought about dunking?
Yes, but so pre-COVID, I specifically loved IHOP, where they would have the multiple flavors of syrup in the thing. And I loved those because I would like to put individual different syrups on different bites.
That makes sense.
And just for people who think that that's ultra weird, like when I was growing up, my mom, who loves breakfast for dinner, would make us pancakes all the time when we were growing up, and then she would over syrup them, and the pancakes would be very large, and she would over syrup them. So by the time you would get like halfway through, the second half was like falling to mush, and I hated it. So like it's a control thing. I must control. And also my best friend says I eat salads very similarly. Like I pick things and then move things around and pick things and then dressing them and then
So I like when you go somewhere and you get like a stack of pancakes, I divide them and I eat one pancake at a time due to the syrup thing. Like if I don't like finish it and I say need to take a cake home, I
you
don't
take
want it
pancakes
to be
home?
I don't want it to be full of syrup.
That's understandable, I suppose.
Like I don't want it to be like you were saying, like a soggy mess.
I don't like it like that at all. I don't know. There's a place my favorite place to get pancakes in San Francisco is this diner in the Castro, which is the gay area of town, called Orphan Andy's, and they are notorious. They give you like these delicious pancakes, but they put like a giant amount of like margarine or butter or something on it, and that also turns it into a mushy mess. No, do not do that to me.
Oh, I don't like butter on my pancakes. I'll be honest about it.
A little bit on.
When they like give you like the glob or whatever, I just like take it off, put it to the side. I'm like, I don't need all that.
Me too. I hate it.
So I'm going to like set a scene for you. Like, so just go on the journey with me. So in my scene, you're hungry and you want something sweet, and you go to the store and you're kind of wandering around and you settle on like, oh, I want some cookies. And you go to the cookie aisle and there's so many options, right? But you're like, no, I want America's favorite cookie, which is the Oreo. But we're not done because there are multiple options still, right? But you don't want any of the weird fruity new flavors or anything funny. No. You want just your regular like chocolate cookie, creamy center Oreo. But then like you still have options. So like at that point, do you go with a single stuffed Oreo or a double stuffed Oreo?
So there is an issue with this question, Val, because I don't really care for Oreos, but they have the ones that are Cinnabon Oreos. Love those. They have the birthday cake Oreos. Love those. But in general, if I got a single or double stuffed, I would the way you described it, I would probably go with the double stuffed.
That is the incorrect, or I apologize, the unofficial correct answer to the question. So congratulations on picking the correct answer. I knew that you would. I knew you had it in you.
Thank you.
Chuck, do we have questions from the chat?
Oh, come on. You know we have questions from the chat.
Oh dear.
Okay, so let's see. Going back all the way to the beginning of the interview.
That was so long ago.
I know it was. Vic loves the name, but he wants to know, why did you choose the name Pollo Del Mar?
The name Pollo Del Mar was chosen legitimately on the way to the venue for my first time in drag. I had initially seen an item on a menu called Delicia Del Mar, and I'd always joked that that would be my drag name if I did drag. But the fact was that I'd only initially thought I was going to do drag one time, and I had friends who did this fundraising event that I was doing for that first time, and even though they barely did drag, people would call them by that name, and I didn't want people on the street being like, "Hey, Delicia." So it's also the reason my name is not like, Anastasia or something. So on the way to the event, because now it's pretty public knowledge, my first name is actually Paul. I wanted something, and I sign if I sign a note, I just sign it with the letter P. It's like always like that. And so I wanted something that started with a P, so I could continue. I didn't have to alter my thing, and I didn't want to sound like a woman's name when I was walking down the street. So I went with Pollo Del Mar. It was number one, it's funny. It's like it's also play on words, and it furthermore is an ode to Jessica Simpson, who I'm an unabashed fan of.
Love it. Love the reason behind it. Love the name. Love the answer. Vic, I hope that suffices what you were looking for. Okay, the next one's from Old Bad Guy, and you guys kind of touched on it, but his question was, who do you want to manage? I know you guys talked about it a little bit. Is there anybody out there that if they were a free agent, who would you want to bring under the brand?
Yeah, I mean, there are many people that I would love to work with, but the two people that I would most want to work with, we've already discussed at great length. And the people that I would really, really love to put together as a team that would be an ongoing thing and make a trio for us is Effie and Zicky. Like I that's very much a team that I would love to work with. I would love to go to Impact Wrestling and work with Zicky there. We know that we see him there now on Impact Wrestling, and I would love to do that. So that's something that I've definitely thought about. And then, there are people that I would love to work with in other capacities. But if I was like to just pick somebody right off the top of my head, those are the first two.
Do you have a tag team name for them?
Yes, and that's actually, they stole that name from me because I proposed to Zicky, and the name for it is Two in the Pink. That's the name that we've known them as, but I was who gave that, and it wasn't the name isn't the number two, it's TOO, Two in the Pink, and we would all be pink, and but it's Two in the Pink.
I like it. Okay, our very own Christopher asks, what's your favorite wig to wear? Because as a bald man, he appreciates a good wig game.
So, oh God, what is my favorite wig to wear? I first of all, that changes like by my mood and what look I want to give, right? So the wig is almost always secondary to like I start with the concept of what I want to do, and then I find a hair to match it. My favorite wig, I have two because they're both really easy and they both look fantastic always. One is like the shag cut rocker wig that I just recently posted on my Instagram at like this afternoon. That one has sentimental value because it was owned by a very dear friend of mine who passed away, and then I sort of inherited it after the fact. And then another one that I specifically love is like a long red one that people see me in often. It's sort of like feathered back because that one, it just always looks great on me no matter what. But if I showed you, by the way, I have literally, I mean, styled right behind this curtain in another room is like probably, I would say 25 wigs on heads, and then not unstyled or like destroyed and ready to be restyled, I have literally hundreds of wigs.
Wow. So staying on the topic of wigs, we just had a question come up in the chat from Nina Dragon. Do you name your wigs?
No.
Okay.
No.
Back to another topic you guys talked about.
By the way, that's not, I think that like people do. Like I think certain people have definite names that like, I have, but I don't really name them because I think that I would associate each of those names with a specific type of character, and I like to be able to like visualize different characters even though they may be the same hair.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, because you could wear the same hair with multiple different styles, multiple different fits and everything. So yeah. You wouldn't want to just paint it into a corner. Yeah.
We don't put baby in the corner.
No, definitely not. So you guys discussed announcers, and I know you dropped the name of one or two, but Vic wants to know, do you have a favorite announcer?
My favorite announcer, I think that for sentimental reasons, Jim Ross is my favorite announcer, probably of all time. My favorite announced duo that I've specifically I was very affectionate towards was during the Lucha Underground period of Matt Stryker and Vampiro. I thought they were outstanding in telling that kind of very specific type of story. They did really, really well with that. And then I would say I also really enjoy when they allow Beth Phoenix to talk, but they don't seem to let her do a lot of that.
No. And love the love from Matt Stryker.
So
Okay. So old bad guy back again. Did you ever get any training anywhere in the ring?
I've never really been formally trained in the ring. No.
Okay. And I know you guys,
yes, but not formally.
and I know you guys talked about you don't want to go into the whole training thing anyway.
I wouldn't mind beginning to do certain training because there's certain things I would love. I'm always looking to learn and grow, but I'm not, despite how beautiful I am in and out of drag, I'm not as young as people think I am. And I'm not looking at this age to start getting thrown around 3 times a week just to prepare myself to get thrown around once a week.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And we for everybody in the chat and listening, we talked about that beforehand and we were quite shocked. We'll leave it at that. We will leave it at that. Back to Christopher. Do you have a favorite set of tag team belts throughout wrestling history?
Yes, the classic WWF World Tag Team titles that were held by Demolition or the Hart Foundation, or the traditional classic WWF Tag Team titles were my favorites.
Nice. Okay, we discussed managing. Old bad guy wants to know any advice that you would give to someone who wants to get into wrestling and be a manager.
I think that the advice I would give, if you can't, if you're looking to go through the whole process, I have a degree in broadcasting, so it allows me to be a lot more comfortable talking. If you have the chance to do any kind of public speaking or train for public speaking, that all helps. But in terms of actually breaking into wrestling and becoming a manager, the traditional trajectory to do that would be to go to some kind of wrestling school, because they will help to train you on, even if you don't want to do in-ring work, they will help to train you on that element. The other thing that I would suggest is, if you want to become a manager, start spending a lot of time around your local indies and just tell people what you want to do. Again, put it out into the world. I believe firmly in putting things into the universe and letting the universe answer back. Nobody can guide you or help you or direct you or any of those things if they don't know what you need.
Nice. Okay. Christina, who left the chat earlier, she was having some phone issues. She's going to watch it back on demand. Her question, simple. There's just 2 parts to it. In Excess or Depeche Mode?
I was never very big on either one, to be honest. But I will say that I'm going to go with In Excess, just because anybody who accidentally kills himself while masturbating gets my vote.
Michael Hutchins was a babe.
I mean, yeah. And he's all, that's how I want to go, man. I'm telling you right now.
You're gonna make Val die again laughing here. Okay. Of course, Christopher wants to know, what's the coolest or most treasured piece of wrestling memorabilia you have?
Ooh, coolest or most treasured piece of wrestling memorabilia I have. The sad thing is that I had this autograph book from the time I was a very small child and until throughout my teens, and it had autographs of all these incredible wrestlers throughout the southern wrestling areas and southern wrestling states, because that's where I lived. And it even had things like blood in it, when people would bleed, I'd be like, oh my God. And then please sign this?
Wait. You would just go over with the piece of paper and sop it up and then have them autograph it.
Yeah.
Oh, and my Lord. That's amazing.
So this book was left at my grandparents' house, And through a series of events, like that house has fallen into disrepair. Like it's been vacant, and I've been in California, so I haven't had the opportunity to go and even try to like just find anything in there. So like that is there, and it's like somewhere, and I would love to have that just because it has years of, you know, attachment. But I will say that the things that I have greatest access to most immediately would be my mom has these photo albums from our childhood, and in those, my dad had, when I was growing up, my dad was also a wrestling fan, and so he had 8x8.5 by 11s of Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher, the famous professional wrestlers from the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, and those are original, and those are in the book. So those are two really cool things that I can think of. I also have my Effie, and I don't have a like on behind this, like on the other side of the room, there is a poster that's literally the size of this thing. That's my face. That says like pro wrestling tonight. It was in front of a theater.
Nice.
Aww.
Okay. Vic has the last two questions. First one is, who has the best wrestling gear of all time, in your opinion?
The best wrestling gear?
Yeah.
I think that the best wrestling gear overall, it's like, you know, the part that kind of sucks about this question is because people who have generally really cool gear, like don't really always, they just rely on their gear. And then the people who have like the extravagant externals, like Ric Flair, all these amazing robes, has really shitty, just like lavender trunks, right? Or whatever. So it's like a give and a take. I think that if I had to pick like the person who as a package looked the coolest to me, I would say that I really love the Heart Foundation for their overall sort of like aesthetic. I think that Shawn Michaels, at the heart of like, you know, some of his stuff was very, very cool. His gear was very cool. I love that. And I oddly enough, like I super love Demolition, even though like they're a replica of multiple other people who came before them. But I think that they were really imposing when they came out. And of course, then there's like Ric Flair's got the best robes.
100% agree with Demolition.
Yeah.
For tag teams, it's Demolition and Legion of Doom, Road Warriors for me.
I to be honest, like I know that people would like, they're the same category, but I was never a massive Road Warriors fan, but I really liked Demolition for some reason. I don't know.
Okay, last question. What's the go-to karaoke song?
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other girls can't not. What a girl.
I love it. That's all the questions from chat. Oh, wait, we actually have one more. It's for Val. Val, when is the you versus Mittens match going to happen?
Who is asking for this?
You'll have to go back through the chat and find out, but it was asked.
Who?
It was asked. We just want to know.
Never. This isn't a thing.
Never. So John Davis did not pull through on getting that to happen.
Never.
Okay.
Not a thing.
Okay, that was questions from the chat. Chris, let's cue up that wonderful lightning footage because we are ready for the worst part of this interview, the lightning round.
The worst part is the fact you had to talk to me for 2 hours.
No.
The worst part was sitting on my balls at a Denny's.
Okay, here we go. As always, 10 questions. First thing that comes to mind, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Number 1, texting or talking?
Texting.
Best inspirational quote you've ever heard?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Love it. Can you say good day, mate, in an Australian accent?
Good day, mate.
Best place to visit in California?
San Francisco, California.
Should hamburgers have mustard on them?
Always.
Favorite thing that your dogs do?
Sleep.
Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at trivia?
10.
What's something that scares you?
Heights.
Best compliment you've ever gotten?
What a nice ass.
And the last one, what terrible movie do you just love to always watch?
Showgirls.
Love it. That's it. 10. Done. Lightning round over. Thank you.
I'm really good at
Showgirls.
that kind of shit.
Showgirls is legit, especially when you can watch it on VH1 and it has like the digital fake bras in it.
Oh,
Like that's the best because
Y'all,
it's the worst.
I will tell you that I pitched a Showgirls inspired storyline to a wrestling company not that long ago.
They didn't take you up on it.
They dropped the effing ball.
that's a terrible choice on their part.
It really was. I was like, this will be hilarious, I promise you.
And they went, nope.
No. We like the
Mm.
idea, but unfortunately we're taking a different creative direction. F you!
Well, Val, back to you.
Back to me. Well, I am nearly completed. What upcoming shows do you have?
You know, I have
Places where we can see Pollo.
Yeah, so on the 8th of October, I have Circus of Sin in San Jose. That's an actual traditional like cabaret drag show, which I have not done in quite some time. And then after the day after that, on October 9th, Money, Power, Respect is taking on the Fatu brothers, Journey and Jacob Fatu, who of course we know that Jacob at the moment is the MLW World Heavyweight Champion. They're going to be taking on those two for the East Bay Pro Wrestling Tag Team titles inside a steel cage. They're also going to be avenging me for the fact that they sat on my face. Mostly they're avenging the fact that they sat on my face without removing their underwear. I mean, if they remove their Journey, just remove your underwear next time. It's not going to be half as offensive. God.
Like really,
Right.
just go like all in on it.
Like, thank you. Like it's either do it or don't. But like shit or get off the pot.
Don't
But not
half-ass
while you're-
it.
So
Full ass it.
full asset, exactly. So indeed. But I also just want to let everybody know that momentarily, whenever we are getting off of here, I am going to be going on onto Twitch, like on my own channel. We're going to be watching some pro wrestling for a couple hours. So like, you know, join me if that's a cool thing.
Yes,
So,
I believe the plan is to radio. So
flawless.
if you want to go live on your streaming soon, so we can raid you.
I just made it live with the
Brilliant.
Soon thing up. So, you know, I also want to tell you, like, I always like the funny thing is, so you know how we were talking about like I'm always like mom or whatever, and so with a lot of people, they actually like, I don't think other managers, I don't know because I don't really see them, but I do know a couple managers locally, and they don't really do the manager thing the way I do. Like my boys are like any of them, like all the people I work with are like, oh my God, like Jamie, when we were going to NWA and the Sheik and Money, Power, Respect, like you really do this. Like I'm constantly like, how do I get them? They're like, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is the thing. Like my job is to get you this. And so I was telling the boys today, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I've got this plan. I was working this afternoon on this idea to sort of like get more of a social following for us and whatever. So I was just, I don't know what made me think about that. The fact that when I was going live on the thing, I saw all this crap that I'd been working on. I was like, I've got so many plans in place.
So that's why everybody needs to stay on top of Pollo and what
Oh my
Pollo
God,
is
please stay
doing.
on top of me. Oh yeah. Top this bitch.
Because Pollo's got plans. And where, other than your Twitch, I know that you also have Twitter.
Yep.
and Instagram.
Yep.
I don't know. Do you have OnlyFans or TikTok or anything else?
I don't have TikTok. I do, but I have like 30 followers on there and I use it like 2 times. I have a YouTube channel. You can go over to YouTube and it's like youtube.com/the notorious PDM. You can check that out. But legitimately, like Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter are like my go-tos. I also have a Facebook page, but like that's just in case somebody's grandma wants to check me out. Mama Pancakes, you can stalk on over. So like, but Twitter, I'm super active on. Instagram, I post regularly. Twitch, I'm on several times, times a week, just watching old school professional wrestling and chatting with people who love old school professional wrestling.
Yes, do stop in to watch Pollo and old school professional wrestling. It's a lot of fun. Plus, Pollo is based on the West Coast and is, if you're based in the Central Time like I am, or the East Coast, they are the late night stream, and there's not a lot going on late night anyway, so you might as well watch Pollo and old school wrestling. And with that, this has been The Stack. As always, I'm Val Pancakes. This has been the vivacious Pollo Del Mar. Please follow Pollo on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch. Hang around for the raid. We will be raiding Pollo, who will be there very shortly. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Woo!